have quite the unpopular opinion about birthing at home with a midwife. Hey, my name's Abby, I'm a nurse, and I'm about to be a second-time mom. And the fact that some of you humans are giving birth at the house with a midwife, whom is not a physician, is crazy to me. Let me tell you why. A midwife is a nurse that has either a master's degree or a doctorate degree. I cannot personally imagine delivering your baby, no matter what kind of training I have, at the house. Like fully at the house, where you cannot go have an emergency C-section if need be. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but that happens. And there's also not a full NICU team to come be at your delivery. That's just crazy to me. But that's just straight up another story for another time. So that brings me to the only thing I have left to say. I'm intrigued. If you are one of those humans that's comfortable with giving birth with a midwife at your home, why?
Let's talk about why people give birth at home. Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm a birth doula, and let's talk about home births. This woman is a nurse, and really that for me is where everything kind of like right there. As a nurse who works in the NICU, you see the worst cases. You see the transfers. You see the failed home births. You see the people that need to come in to have their baby resuscitated. You see postpartum hemorrhages. You see all these crazy emergencies happen, but you don't see the successful home births. And this is bringing me to my first point, is that if you work in labor and delivery, if you work in the NICU, if you work in labor and delivery, if you work postpartum, it is your job to educate yourself as to why people would choose to birth at home. There's a plethora of reasons why someone would birth at home. One, midwives have a better track record of consent. And if you have not been consented to in the past, if you have birth trauma, if you have sexual trauma, that can lead to you not being able to trust people that cross that boundary and don't ask for consent. When we work in labor and delivery, you have to realize that we are working with the most private, intimate parts. Someone might have birth trauma, consent trauma, sexual trauma that leads to them not being listened to or to not trust OBs. I know many people who've had birth trauma in the past from hospitals, of not being listened to, of consent being crossed, all these kinds of things, and they would rather take the risk of birthing at home than go back to the place and be re-traumatized. And of course, we have to talk about Black and brown women. Black and brown women are 3 to 4 times more likely to not be listened to, especially in a hospital, especially with OBs and nurses. And midwives just hold that line so much better. And a lot of Black and brown women will say, I just want to give birth in my own home with a midwife that I trust, instead of an OB that doesn't listen to me, an OB that doesn't really care, an OB that is overworked, and nurses that just want to get over with their shift. That connection is a lot stronger when you have a midwife. OBs want to get you in and out the door so quickly. Also, let's get into this. Midwives are trained in birth. It's not that they just randomly go, oh, I want to be a midwife one day. They are vigorously trained in physiological birth, but not only that, they are trained in how to detect when something is going wrong. They are trained in when to make the call to transfer to the hospital. One other point that I want to make is that if someone doesn't or can't have an epidural, having a birthing tub at home is a lot more accessible, because a lot of hospitals don't even have tubs that you can use, and a lot of hospitals don't let you actually physically deliver in the water. So being at home with a birthing tub is a lot more accessible than being in a hospital with nothing. All in all, I think that if you work in healthcare, especially if you work in labor and delivery and NICU, it is your job and your duty to understand why someone would do this. Why someone would say, I would rather take the risk of all of these things happening than go to a hospital. Because I'm gonna be honest, hospitals do not have great track records of keeping people safe. When you have witnessed people not being listened to, consent not being given and asked for, medical malpractice, medical neglect, and fetal demise, in a hospital where they are supposed to keep you the most safe, apparently, you'll understand why someone wouldn't want to give birth in a hospital.